Hi, bright lights. Welcome and thank you for being here. My name is Tina, and in today's video, we are going to talk about the energy of October. October, which is a 10th month, which signifies the 10-1, which we call blended energy in the soul contract. So 10, and then you have the 1 in the 10. And so we're going to look at those two numbers, what they mean for the energies for the month of October and what you can expect. So I'm going to do that. We're going to talk about a song, a download I got from my guides and angels. And then we're going to pick a couple of cards once I go through the brief description of the numbers. So hang tight, I'm going to jump right in. So the 10-1 really signifies unity consciousness, a one for all for one. I think of the Three Musketeers, one of my favorite movies, the Disney one, which was kind of what brought me to this unity consciousness and what downloads I was getting. So when we look at the 1 in the 10 of October, it is tied to the Archangel Michael energy. And this is a very masculine energy that's within each of us. It's a very protective energy. And this energy is about using strength and power, but not in a bullying way, which is what we see people wanting to use their power to force things. This is about unity and stability. An example of this is how many people have come out to stand up for those who are denying access to basic care of the people of Gaza. They had something like 14 ships initially. Most of them have been captured, and now there's more and more ships that have set sail. And this is what, again, it's not about force, it's about allowing soul consciousness to guide the way. So this is an example of higher states of consciousness coming through by numerous service souls who have been to Earth many times before. Many of us have, and a lot of us chose to come back during this exact time in order to serve humanity in some way. And so this is the way that some of them are using this consciousness and to be driven to go forward in some way. Again, you will be inspired through your soul as to what is the best way for you to serve humanity. So, this is where true power comes from. It's about unity, and that is in alignment with truth and what serves the highest ideals. Now, the number 1 is also tied to the planet Pluto. You're going to hear a lot about that in astrology right now, which is about asking you to go to the core of any issues you are struggling with in order to transmute and transform those issues. It's really an evolutionary planet, and it's asking you to rebirth a new, better version of yourself this month, essentially asking you to let go of the another aspect of the ego. This is again about opening us up to soul consciousness, and our egos are the ones that keep us in that judgment, in this wanting to use force to get our way and those things. That's all tied to the ego, instead of when we start to recognize our soul consciousness, we want to serve others and to serve humanity and not just serve ourselves. So the number 1 energy in that 10 also reflects the gateway to the divine mind. So if you stay focused on connecting to the divine this month, you will be getting some very powerful downloads. This month will make it easier to pull forward knowledge from your past lives. You may have some very great eureka moments this month, because you're remembering. This is a remembering, and you're going to be like, oh, that makes sense. Oh, yeah, I knew that. Number 1 is tied to new beginnings. It's a great time for starting something new, especially in the healing, astrology, and spirituality areas. So you, again, if you've been pulled to learn some new things, some new Reiki healing, um, new types of astrology, learning different things about astrology, tarot readings, this is all a great time to absorb that knowledge because you're pulling in from past lives, and this is the time, to be of service to others. We're being asked to learn our skills so that we can help in this very chaotic time that we're in right now. So let's talk about what the 10 means. Now that we've kind of focused on the one, we'll talk about the 10. And that is really tied to manifestation. So, what are you trying to bring into your reality? Because this is about staying in the flow and finding a balance within whatever you are doing. If you're willing to put in the work this month, you'll see a lot of positive results. This is a great time for inventors and creators. So you may get word on new things coming up, new inventions, new ways of doing things. Intuition will be really strong. So pay attention to yours. 10 is tied to the planet Virgo, which is very analytical, meticulous, and discriminatory in a good way. Because again, we want to be able to discriminate what it is we're searching for. So that I don't mean that in a negative context, this is in a positive. So, but just watch out for that negative Pluto side, which can be very critical, perfectionistic tendencies will come to mind, and being overly mental. So stuck in your head about things instead of allowing that flow you know, to get the information going. So it's about finding balance between the masculine and the feminine energies. The masculine, which is all about the will and taking the action, and the feminine, which is allowing and being the creative, energy. We're the ones who create, or the feminine is that more creative energy. So, and very fertile with the new ideas. So just try, it's really important for you to try to do your best to balance those out. um, the 10 is also a great month to make greater connections, and especially in your relationships, your existing ones. So it's a great month to reach out and to allow yourself to be more vulnerable, no, more vulnerable, to be able to go and heal relationships and get to a deeper level in any of your relationships. I also want to put out there is 10 is also known to be the end of karmic cycles. So you may see a lot of karma playing out because there's a lot of old cycles that are trying to die out. And this is about letting go of that which no longer serves you. So if something feels off, pay attention because you don't want to repeat another cycle of it. And I had made this mistake one time in my life. I had pretty recently had gotten out of a long-term relationship, and I had a friend who was a male that I had worked with, and we were working on some projects together, and he had asked me out, and I kind of had this reaction because again, I knew that I still had to heal from this betrayal of this other relationship, but yet out of fear, I didn't want to lose him as a friend. I agreed to us getting involved in a relationship. And what was really funny is that the night that he asked me out, when I went back to my car, there was this card laying underneath my car. When I opened the driver's door, I could see this card. It was like like a tarot deck card laying under my car, and I grabbed it, and it was actually a card to a deck that was called Karma, and on the other side was a 10. And I was like thinking, oh, this is a sign, this is like a new beginning. But what I wasn't getting at that time is that And that for me to go into this relation, I would be repeating another karmic cycle. And that is what happened. I was in this relationship for about a year and a half, and it ended. I ended up having to end it because it was not right for either of us. And but that was part of my learning and my growth. But I was getting those signs. I just was not paying attention. So just my warning to you to pay attention to the signs so that you do avoid repeating old patterns again. October is a great month to come more into, like we talked about earlier, with letting go of the ego, more of your soul's consciousness and what your soul is trying to tell you. So pay attention to that. The things that you're going to want to watch out for this month is more abuse of power and denial of spirituality to those still in the karmic side of their charts. And that isn't anything that is meant to be judgmental. These are learning patterns for people to try to wake them up to a higher level of consciousness. But you will see people abusing power again. You're going to have people, anybody who's working in spirituality, you might see an uptick of people, calling you crazy or trying to attack you in some ways. You'll see a lot of self-righteous behavior, more greed. Again, but you're going to see people again continue to spiral as we have been seeing, because when you're avoiding your spiritual growth, people become very unstable as a result. So watch out for manipulators. And on the personal side, if you start to feel any unusual cravings this month, please pay special attention to that because it is really trying to get your attention and let you know there's something deeper that you need to be looking at. So, all in all, it's going to be another busy month of our 9 year, which is big endings as well. So the song Marching On by OneRepublic came to be my guides today. And I thought it was very interesting as we talk about this unity consciousness and this song by OneRepublic, because again, the United States is a republic. And when I saw OneRepublic, it reminded me of that unity consciousness um, that we are striving for. And so the more unity consciousness that we can bring out, the more stable our environment becomes and our world becomes. So I want to read some of the lyrics about the song, and I'm going to put, as I always do in the description box, a link to the video. I encourage people to listen to the music as it takes us to a higher vibrational place. And so here are some of the words that I thought were really special in for this time. And it starts out by saying, for those days we felt like a mistake, those times when love's what you hate. Somehow we keep marching on. For those nights when I couldn't be there, I've made it harder to know that somehow we'll keep moving on. There's so many wars we fought. There's so many things we're not. But with that, with what we have, I promise you that we're marching on. We're marching on. So what are we talking about there? We're talking about all these lives we've lived before. Those times when love's what you hate, for the days you felt like it was a mistake, um, there were so many wars we fought, there's so many things we're not, so all of these lessons that we've learned through all these incarnations. So then it goes on to say, for all the plans we've made, there isn't a flag I'd wave. Don't care if we bend, I'd sink us to swim. We're marching on, we're marching on. And again, that talks about, others that might be sinking us, or we might feel that they're taking us down. And it's all about serving the light. Everything serves the light. So again, it's just a remembering that we are eternal beings and everything is working out in our highest goods, even though it may, there's a lot of suffering and things happening. So it goes on to say, for those doubts that swirl all around us, for those lives that tear at the seams, we know we're not what we've seen. For this dance we'll move with each other. There ain't no other step than one foot right in front of the other. There's again, and it goes on to say, there's so many wars we fought, there's so many things we're not. And it kind of repeats that and it says, we'll have the days we break and we'll have the scars to prove it. We'll have the bonds that we save, but we'll have the heart not to lose it. For all the times we've stopped, for all the things I'm not. And then it talks about putting your foot in front of the other. And then it says right, 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 left. We're marching on, we're marching on. And this can refer to, a lot of the marches that will be coming on for us getting our voice. The tens are also about voicing power through unity. This is again nonviolent, non-cooperation to authoritarianism, which usually is not in service of the whole. It's not a spiritual way of being. So I thought this song just really hit it home. I thank my guys and angels for bringing it on today. I appreciate that. They never fail me when I always tell them I'm looking for a song, and this one showed up, just a couple hours ago. So I did want to pull just a couple of cards. I like to start with the angel guide oracle, kind of just to set the stage here. And again, what I had talked about earlier, this card is coming through and it's saying intuition and downloads. So we're going to be, I said, very tied to our intuition. You're going to be getting a lot of downloads this month. So if you're having issues with sleep, know that it could be why. If you're feeling very, very tired, that could be why. We're going through a lot of upgrades and a lot of changing. So I'm glad that clarity, that validation from what we were talking about earlier came through. Then we're going to go to the wisdom of the oracle here and see what pops out. Okay, well, this one's stuck. Here and now. And this card is 32, which adds up to 5, and that's all about freedom and boundaries. And we can see there's this egg, and she's popping out of this egg. And I said, this is a great time for new beginnings. And we talked about in the song, there isn't a flag I would wave, because again, we're all a lot of service souls. We've had a lot of incarnations. We've flown a lot of different flags in our day. Um, so then we see the arrow to the past, and then the arrow to the future, but we're always, when we're here on earth, we're always in the here and now. So it's important to stay present through this period of time. And you can see the door to the egg here. The doors are opening up to all of those new ideas, creations and inventions coming into big downloads. I'm trying to see okay, so she's just sitting there. And then there's still a little bit of uncertainty. And when I see clouds, it represents some confusion and not seeing, it's not like a clear sky. And this card, like I said, is very green, which is tied to, I am wearing green today, which is tied to the heart chakra and keeping your heart open in these very, very difficult times. So that was a great card to get. And so let's go to the elemental oracle here to see what we're getting from that perspective. So we're getting bravery and oceans. And what are we seeing with what I talked about with the Gaza and the people who are just going with their courage and even though these other people have already been kidnapped and they have been harassed and threatened, they're getting on more boats and there's more people coming. There is actually millions um, marching in the streets. And so this card is another 3, 303 again. With this card as I is a 32, but threes are all about mastery, and we talked about that in the number 10 as well in October. So people rising to their level of mastery. And so I love how she's walking on the earth, but she's really up in the higher dimensions. So she's staying above the fray, above all of this emotion. And that's what I'm talking about, is following your soul's consciousness. So we're going to the secret language of light to get some advice. And so we have the 13 here. So I've got another 3. So we went 333. That is all mastery numbers. Um, so this is insight. And so look at this. We talked about this. We're going to be getting a huge downloads this month from your soul consciousness, past life stuff coming in to remind you to create the remembering so that you can elevate yourself. This is what we came here for, is to connect and serve others in the process, because it is all about serving others. I do want to read, I'm being drawn to read that this insight. So there's something for somebody in this. So it says, okay, refining your psychic senses. You are or are about to see further, higher, and deeper through space and time. Your psychic skills are expanding and seeing through the lens of your soul. Hone your abilities by reading about or doing a workshop on intuitive development. And we talked about that, doing healing learning. We are all psychic. It is part of who we are. But we have thrust this ability into the background in favor of our other senses. Problems occur when you keep looking at the manifested world for proof of our worth. You are worthy because you are here. There is nothing to prove. You could become an intuitive reader if this is something you desire. It could also mean you are learning to trust what you feel, and the next steps to take will drop into your mind in the following days. Beautiful. Thanks, Spirit. That was another great validation for what this month is all about. And I'm going to pick this card, and we're going to, I think, do a mantra. Keep this video in under a reasonable time here. And then we're going to end just perfectly. We have this new moon coming up, which is going to be really pivotal. I think it's tomorrow already. Flow. This is what I said is about maintaining flow, and allowing that flow to happen. It's not about forcing anything. It's not about you forcing to be something you're not ready to be. You will know. The soul consciousness will push you to where you need to be. And I want to end with a Matt Kahn mantra for this month. And let's see what we get from good old Matt. He does great job with the mantras. And this mantra for this month is honoring adversity. A fire reveals a path of renewed direction once the burning is complete. So let's go. That's the mantra. So let's go and see what he has to say about that particular one, so we get a full picture of what he is saying here. So and it's on page 30. We've got the 333 is all the way across the board, um, which is all about master teacher, mastering and teaching at us from the soul. When adversity is honored, life is appreciated as oscillating cycles of deterioration and renewal. Deterioration is the natural process of new things becoming old, while renewal is in the process of old things becoming new. As you learn to honor these two interconnected processes just as naturally as the changing of seasons, you are able to embrace adversity. It is not a punishment, but a gift of renewal birthed out of the ashes of erosion. This mantra is ideal for processing of unforeseen changes, overcoming superstitious beliefs, and surrendering the ego. Perfect. Exactly what we needed to end this video, which encompasses everything we've been talking about. And so I'm going to say this 3 times. This is our mantra for October. A fire reveals a path of renewed direction once the burning is complete. A fire reveals a path of renewed direction once the burning is complete. A fire reveals a path of renewed direction once the burning is complete. And with that, I feel this reading is complete now. Thank you so much for being here. It's again, all of what's going on is happening for a reason. Everything serves the light. So know everything is going to work out. And I will see you in the next video.